Hello everyone, and welcome back to Crafted Creations. Today I'm going to show you how to upgrade your Star Wars Black Series Galaxy's Edge Hondo Ohnaka into a more accurate Clone Wars color scheme. For this you're going to need to use the boil and pop method that I showed in a previous video, which I will show you here how to go ahead and do that as well. This is going to help us disassemble this to make painting quite a bit easier and help us be a little bit more accurate with the finer details on this figure. So let's go ahead and get started. For this you're going to need a heat-resistant plastic or ceramic bowl. Most microwave-safe plastic bowls will work fine with boiling water, and a tea kettle and some boiling water. Action figure of your choice. First you're going to want to pour your boiling water. You don't need too much, just make sure that it's enough to submerge your figure. Toss him right in. This is only going to take a few seconds if the water is hot enough, probably about 10 or 15 seconds or so. If you are very sensitive, be very careful, as boiling water can cause some pretty severe burns. You don't want to risk ending up in the hospital just so you can make a pretty cool custom. So his hand is sticking out right there, doesn't seem to be submerged. I have a pretty high tolerance for heat, so I'm going to go ahead and risk it for the biscuit. So now that he's been in there, if you notice the plastic is very soft and malleable, his head should pop right off there. Now that his head is off, that'll make taking off his robe a little bit easier. Let's see, might have to do the arms first. Let's go ahead and give him another soak. Alright, so now that he's been soaking there for a couple seconds, arms should pop right off pretty easily. That should give us a pretty good start. And voila. Now for this tutorial, this is all we're going to really need to pull apart. But if you wanted to go the extra mile and pull these off, it makes it very simple once the plastic is soft. I'll show you as an example just for this video, but we won't really need to do this for the tutorial. But for this video I'll go ahead and show you just how easy it is to get these out of there. I do find sometimes too swishing it around, that way if there's any empty spots in there, the water will get right in and it'll help soften that up. Make sure to shake off the excess water there so that way you don't burn yourself trying to do this. Boom. Quick and easy. There you go. Alright, so now that we've got him taken apart, we're going to go ahead and start painting. The Clone Wars version of Hondo Ohnaka has a much brighter color palette, so for this we're going to start with the trench coat. The cartoon version has more of a purpley red with a yellow stripe down the middle. The collar is actually red with that same yellow stripe, so we're going to do a little bit of painting along the edge. The armor pieces actually have more of a gray with a hint of green on there almost. With the hand-painted look of the Clone Wars, we're going to be doing a lot of dry brushing as well on this. So let's go ahead and get started and start brightening this up a bit. We're going to go ahead and use the rosy red from Anita's all-purpose acrylic for this. So we're going to go ahead and use our medium brush for this one. Let's go ahead and get that wet. Roll off a little bit of the excess on there. A couple little dabs. And we're going to go ahead and start painting away. dries, we're going to go ahead and start painting the sleeves on the rest of the figure here so we can get that all to match. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and let this dry, and we're going to touch up some of the areas on here. So let's go ahead and clean our brush up. Now, in the TV show, he has a little bit brighter face, so we're going to do a little bit of dry brushing along the face area to kind of brighten that up. And then the helmet, that's very dark and pretty similar color to his hair, so we need to brighten that up a little bit so you can kind of distinguish the helmet from the rest of his hair. So for this, I'm going to use our Apple Barrel Brown Oxide. Don't need much, so it's a very small area. And then Craftsmart brand vanilla. Now we're going to take a dab of the vanilla and mix that in here with the brown oxide. Lighten that up a bit. As you're mixing, you can go ahead and hold the brush up there, see what kind of tone you get until you get the shade that you think is right for you. So since we're just going to be dry brushing, we don't want to go too light. I think this will probably be perfect amount there, just a little bit of a light brown. And then with dry brushing, go ahead and tap out the excess paint, and then go ahead and just give it quick, gentle little swipes. And you only want to scratch the surface area because you don't want it to fill in any of those cracks there. For this area, this is going to be a little tricky. You want to wet your brush, roll it so you can get it to a nice fine point, rub off as much of the excess as you can, but you want to keep a little bit on there because when you drop it in, you want it to kind of fill in those gaps there. Take a little bit of that brown oxide and then we're just going to go over a little bit more and then just kind of blend those two shades together there. So that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and clean our brush. And we're going to mix up a shade of gray here. So we're going to want to take our jet black. And black you don't need very much when you are mixing. That's probably way too much, so we're going to need to go ahead and empty that out. And then we're going to take our apple barrel, Snow White, a little bit over there. And you're going to dab a little bit of black. For the mixing, we're going to go ahead and use a bigger brush. Same thing, we're going to dry brush, so go ahead and roll off as much of that excess as we can. Restore some of the detail back in that helmet. So what we're going to do is a washing technique that you can use. We're going to go ahead and take a little bit of that black, go ahead and wet your brush so you get a lot of that excess off. We're just going to want to tap that in there. Just go ahead and drop it right in the cracks of the helmet. And the water will make it just kind of flow right back into the cracks. And if you put it along the edge, you'll kind of get a little bit of an outline where the shadows would be. We do need to go ahead and start doing the armor plates on here. From the screenshots that I've looked at, it does seem like it has a gray, a little bit darker gray than the helmet, with kind of hints of green on there. So we're going to take the gray that we already mixed, go ahead and get a little bit more black in there. Let's go ahead and use that other thicker brush again. And we want to get this a few shades darker than the gray we used for the helmet. Maybe a little bit more. This is looking pretty good, but I want it to stand out quite a bit more than that helmet. So I'm going to take this one more step further. Alright, there we go. That'll be perfect. the reds in those couple spots that we missed. Grab some more gray. Alright, so let's go ahead and let this dry, and then we'll go ahead and put on the finishing touches. Alright, so now that that's dry, I went ahead and threw the trench coat back on. We're going to go ahead and start doing the finishing touches, so we're going to have to reassemble him. We got to put the arms on, and then finish painting some of the red. I chose not to paint those yet until after we reassemble it, just because that may have damaged the paint. Sometimes it takes a little bit of elbow grease to get these worked back into the sockets, so we're going to go ahead and just get these in there. Alright, that one is good. And now for the next one. Alright, that one is in there nice and tight. So let's go ahead and paint those up. Let's go ahead and take some of our vanilla. We're going to mix that with some of this gray. We're going to try to match those up there as best we can. wash like we did with the helmet. We're going to do it with the gray this time, so it'll blend a little bit with the armor. Let's go ahead and wet that brush. Get a little bit of that gray in there. Wet it again. Dab off the excess. So there we go. Now let's go ahead and get that gold trim on his trench coat there. For this, we're going to use Real Yellow from Apple Barrel. We're going to use our fine tip brush again. Go ahead and dry that out. Small little dab there. Roll your brush so we can get that into a fine point here. We're just going to go along that outside edge. Perfect. Let's go ahead and just finish up the collar there. Alright, so now let's just go ahead and touch up any loose ends. We'll do a tiny bit of dry brushing on that green. While that's drying, let's go ahead and mix our green. This one we're going to use Spring Green from Apple Barrel. And I'm going to use a textured brush here. This one is a fork shaped, so that'll give us a little bit of texture. We're going to go ahead and mix some black with this green. So let's go ahead and snap his head back on. I'm going to wash up the hands so we don't dirty up that face. Be right back. So I went ahead and popped his head back on while we were away, and now we have a fully Clone Wars accurate Hondo Ohnaka. If you enjoyed this video and others, please leave a comment down below. Let us know how you liked it. And also don't forget to like and subscribe, ring that bell, it helps us out tremendously. If you want to see more customs, it's good to follow because we'll be doing a lot more stuff like this. Quick, simple, easy repaints, as well as some more in-depth builds coming up pretty soon. Some kit bashing techniques. We'll be mixing and matching parts from different figures to build something pretty spectacular. So definitely leave some comments, let us know what you'd like to see, and as always folks, stay crafty.